Hey there hikers, Adam Hoyt here. Welcome back to the channel. I'm real excited. Fall is upon us. You know that means two things. The leaves will be coming out and the air will be starting to cool down, so it'll make it even more comfortable for all the nice hikes that we'll be doing. On today's video, we're gonna have a double 2-for-1 for you. Two different peaks and two different New Hampshire hiking trail lists. For today's hike, we'll be doing the Percy Peaks trail. Come on, let's take a look. We're gonna start off at the Nash Stream Road and follow the Percy Peaks trail up until we get to the shoulder between the two peaks. From here, we're gonna switch over to the Old Summer Club trail as we go to summit Percy Peaks South first. Once we're done, we will retrace our steps back to the fork in the trail and follow the main trail once again until we get to Percy Peaks North. This whole trail will be just around 4.5 miles round trip, and then we'll be able to count it for both the 52 with a view and the terrifying 25. But hey, enough explaining. Come on, let's go get hiking. Welcome back, everyone. So what did you think of that? That was Percy Peaks. Spoiler alert, I don't want to get into the review too quickly, but that is actually one of my favorite trails in all of northern New Hampshire. This one, it also doubles. You can get check off a 52 with a view and a terrifying 25. I completely understand why it's on the 52 with a view list. The views from that summit of North Percy, especially 360 degrees around, is just absolutely spectacular. And I guess the terrifying, it's truly, okay, so it's not one of the main terrifying 25, it's in the alternate list. So they do recognize that it's not the scariest of all of them, but it's in the alternate list right down there. It must be that the summit of North Percy where you got those views and it's a little bit steep. That's probably where, or maybe even the rock slide a little bit of the way up that factors in, but it does count for both lists. So be sure to check it out for that. Get a little double 2-for-1 action there. I've been coming here, well, my mom tried bringing me here when I was a kid. As you can see in the picture here, back when I was a young lad, we tried to hike this trail, but I went through some sort of weird phase back then where I suddenly became very scared that I would run into a bear on the trail, and this trail is so far north and it seems so remote when you pull in on the dirt road that's far back away from the main road that it really makes you feel like you're off the beaten path. And you know, that really gave into my fear, and I really thought we would find a bear. So we did not make it all the way to the summit when I was a kid, but it was only once I became an adult and came and revisited this trail that I did make it to the top and realized what a great hike it was. The trail starts off right when you park at the indicated parking location right next to the Nash Stream. You're right in front of a wooden bridge, so you know you're in the right area. It also is marked with a sign. Once you cross that bridge, right up there on the right is the Percy Peaks Trail. You start that trail and you can kind of break this trail into 3 main sections. The first section is rather flat and goes through the trees. It's a little uneventful, but you're hiking along the little brook that entire way. And so that is the more relaxed section of the trail that goes on for maybe a third of the way. And then the rocks start getting bigger. And then you eventually come to this very large rock with some trees growing on top of it. After this large rock, the trail begins to get a little bit steeper. So you definitely know you're deep into that second section when you find the big rock slab. It's the first instance of the exposed rock face that you'll see on the trail. It becomes very steep as you go up there. That's when it gets to become a little tough and you may start to despair a little bit, but don't. It begins to level out a little bit when you get into the area where the little lemon squeeze is, where you squeeze between the 2 rocks. And from here, it flattens out as you get in between the shoulder, between the 2 peaks. Once we get to this point, that's where we find the fork in the trail, and then you get your big choice. Are you going to do just Percy Peak North, the main peak that's the highest, or are you going to do both? Because you can do both North and South Percy Peak. I would recommend doing both. You're all the way here. Why not do both? You get a really good view of North Percy Peak from south and vice versa. So if you take a right and follow the old Summer Club trail, you head out toward the spur for South Percy Peak. The trail does get, especially when you're going up the steeper portion of South Percy Peak, it becomes much narrower, very mossy, very damp. And of note, there is one very steep section on that hike up South Percy Peak, as you probably saw in the video. That going up and down that part is a little bit of the trickiest of that whole section on South Percy Peak. So watch out for that as you make your way up onto the summit of South Percy Peak. Now that peak it's more wooded, there's less area visible, so the view, you don't get as much 360 degree views when you get to the summit here, but it is still very good. There's some great views of North Percy Peak once you get up there, but it is a little bit more vegetation on that peak. Once you make your way back down to the fork again, you then continue on straight as you would have, following the rest of the Percy Peak Trail till you get to the other fork. There's a Percy Loop Trail that can go around the entire backside of the mountain, but you want to stick left, and that'll bring you up the last third of the trail that I would say, which is the main summit push for North Percy Peak, and this is mostly on exposed rock face, which is very fun to scramble up. As you make your way and scramble up there, you'll be exposed, and then you finally get onto the summit and you have 360 degree views. That whole walk up, you also have, if you look behind you as you're walking up the rock slab, you will also have great views towards the presidential range that way as you go. And then you make it to the summit and you've made it to the top. The whole thing, North Percy, is, I have it written here, it's 3,415 feet, and if you do that whole trail out and back, would be 4.4 miles. So it's not the longest, not the highest, but it definitely has some of the best unrivaled views in the entire northern mountain ranges there. Notes about the trail, let's see. So the trail markers on this trail, let's see, on the Percy Peak trail you have orange blazes the whole way up. The blazes are both on the trees, and as you get closer to the rock face on the summit, they're shown on the rocks themselves. And then when you break off towards South Percy Peak, there are yellow blazes on the old Summer Club trail. Now, there are also, like near the forks in the road and near the summit in different areas, there's more direct signage when you get to that point. The most common place you might get off the trail is on the rock face itself because it's just open rock, but there are blazes on that rock to keep you on trail. Where did the blazes go? Oh, there it is. There's the blaze. Whew. One thing you do need to consider at this time, there are a couple down trees that you have to navigate over. They haven't chopped them down yet, so if that's something that concerns you, just be aware of that. You have to do a little hopping over some trees, but nothing too bad. As I mentioned at the beginning, the Nash Stream is located right next to the parking area, so after you do the hike and you're tired and a little bit warm, you can dip your feet in the water of the fast-flowing Nash Stream there to cool down. When I was growing up, that after we bailed on the trail, that's something we definitely did. It was fun to play in the rocks and the quick flowing water there. Now, if you're so lucky to hike this trail in the summer months of maybe late July, early August, there are an extensive amount of blueberries on the summit of North Percy Peak. You go up there, there's blueberries the entire summit, more blueberries than you can eat. So I went up there earlier this summer and there was people filling Tupperwares full of blueberries, so make sure you go during that time of year to get some taste of wild blueberries. That is a fun thing to do. The one warning I want to give, and I would always give on trails that have a lot of rocks and rock faces on it, is that wet rocks are slippery. Please watch out for that. This trail, especially so on those steep portions with the exposed rock face, that is something very much to be precautious of. Also, the summit is very exposed, so if the weather turns while you're on the summit itself, you don't have a lot to block the wind or the elements from you, so take that into account as you will. A difficulty rating for this trail, I'd put it right smack dab in the middle. I would call it a road less traveled. It is not the longest of hikes, but it does have those a little bit steep sections, especially approaching the summit, but I think it's well worth the effort. A nice middle of the road hike there, a road less traveled. So you already know this, it's not really a surprise at this point. My review of the trail, I would say, I would highly recommend this trail. Like I said, it is one of my favorite in all of New Hampshire. The views from North Percy, they cannot be beat. Even if you're not in the area, I think it's worth driving out of the way for to go check it out. Plus, like I said, you can check off 2 of the New Hampshire hiking lists by doing this one trail, both the 52 with the view and the terrifying 25. It's one of the alternates, but hey, definitely make it one of the alternates that you pick to fill out that list. So the end, what did you think? Did you enjoy the hike? Is it one that you want to do yourself? Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought, where you'd like me to go next. I'm always interested to hear if people have done the trails that I review and where else you guys want me to check out. Right now, I'm mainly focusing on New England, but please let me know some of the other places you would like me to check out. If you really did enjoy the video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as well. If you really do feel inspired to finally check this trail out after my review, I included the link to a custom all trails map that I made in the description down below. And hey, as well, all of the gear that I used to make this video that you saw today, those are also included in the description down below. In the end, thank you all so much for watching. That's it for me. I'll catch you in the next one.
I wonder how many of these I'll have to do before I finally eat it on camera. Oh. Oh. How's your day going? Whoa! Oh. Can you believe it was 40 degrees this morning? Jesus. Squeeze, squeeze. Don't hit the camera. Don't hit the camera. Oh, I hit the camera. Mushrooms. Mushrooms. Glad that didn't hit the camera. Jeez Louise. I'm literally the only one left, and I was the second person here.